Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second half of our doubleheader. First, we began with Inside the Big Ten with a much bigger crew. What was it ever? We went with 7 strong, and now we have 3. But before I go ahead and take care of business, I want to just make sure let everybody know that all of us here stand behind Israel strong. It's unfortunate about those terrorist attacks that have occurred. There's no place for it, and to me, all I can say is please stay strong and let's hope the fatalities and the casualties are minimal at best. I have a feeling this could be an extended conflict. It's just unfortunate, but we're all with you, Israel. Keep the faith. All right, with that said, tonight, 108 Stitches baseball talk. We're talking MLB playoffs and of course the regular Jordan Long. Thanks for being on, Jordan.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
You're very welcome. And George, hi, Jordan. Long time no see. About 3 minutes.
Yeah, Scott. Game 2 of the doubleheader.
All right. Well, you know what, though? Amazingly enough, we're not going to talk about a quick score, but we're going to talk somewhat of one. I want to talk about a win-win trade that Kimng was able to engineer earlier the year for both sides. Miami ended up acquiring luisarraez, who won the American League batting champion, and now he wins it in the National League in exchange for Pablolopez. Now, let's talk about Pablolopez. 2-0, 0.71 ERA in the playoffs, 2 Ks, 3 walks, 1 run, 12.2 innings, a real ace. So, what are your thoughts, Jordan, about Pablolopez? I mean, obviously, Arias did a good job in Miami, but now, obviously, the Twins are alive, but Pablo's a stud.
Well, he is. I mean, sure, they're down in this series 2-1, but you look at what he's done in the playoffs. He's at 2-0 with a great ERA. I mean, that's what you want. You want pitching to help you in the playoffs, and that's what's carried them into the American League Division Series. So if he can keep it up, I mean, you're looking at a win situation tomorrow, but if the Twins can keep going and he's successful, I mean, Lopez could end up, helping them get to the World Series. Of course, you have to win tomorrow to force a winner takes all Game 5. But it's amazing that trade actually worked out for both sides. It doesn't usually happen that way.
Well, I've seen a lot of win-win trades over the years, but this one happened to work out better than a lot of win-wins, because here's what we have to understand. In this particular trade, both teams got in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They did. The Twins ended up winning the division, and the Marlins just getting into playoffs for the 4th time in their existence. And Arias, I love watching this guy. He's one of the most pure hitters I've ever seen. You talk about a guy that puts ball hit. The object of baseball, as we know, is put bat on ball, and obviously luisarraez did it. But I hated to see him let Pablolopez going, because I know this guy is a horse. And when you think of the fact that sandyalcantara now is going to be out all of next year due to Tommy John surgery, Pablolopez, from what I understand, got an extension when he went to Minnesota. So the Twins have themselves a heck of a pitcher for a long time. I used to love watching Pablolopez, but I understand it was a great trade. George?
Yeah, it sure was. Obviously, like you said, both teams made the playoffs, which is obviously what you're shooting for. A lot of it just makes me a little bit ill at ease thinking about some of those Tiger giveaways, I'll call them, such as Justin Verlander. I mean, you get a bunch of prospects and all that, but man, oh man, this was a trade that, like you said, benefited both teams, unlike many of the trades, as we know, are more lopsided than this. And this is shades of way back when we got rockycolavito was traded for harveykuehn. The batting champion and the home run champion were traded for each other. That's what something like this reminds me of, back in the days when the Tigers in Cleveland made that trade amongst themselves. But yeah, both players had a great time, and I am happy to see both teams in the playoffs, even though obviously Miami is eliminated already. But the Marlins had a great season, and but Pablo, yeah, he's a great pitcher, no question about it. Both players are all-stars for years to come.
Yeah, I knew you were going to mention Rocky Colavito and harveykuehn. I mean, you're talking about a home run champion for a batting champion, if I remember correctly. So for a lot of our audience out there that goes back a ways, there's your little trivia question about the last win-win trade of this magnitude. Before I go any deeper here, I want to let everybody know that 108 Stitches baseball talk is being broadcast around the world The audio version of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. All you have to do is just participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter /X at Tribune South, and then Tribune and our website will also be the site will become a publishing site now because of my book that I'm about to mention right now. Candy Eveling is behind the scenes, and that book I'm alluding to is a media book called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. And that book will be self-published by the South Florida Tribune. With that said, okay, according to CBS, and I was amazed when I saw this one, every team to beat the Brewers in the postseason has advanced to the World Series. Now, we're going to go back a ways with this one. Here's a good look. I don't know if you saw this one or not, Jordan, but I'm going to tell it to you. The 1981 Yankees, the 1982 St. Louis Cardinals, the 2008 Philadelphia Phillies, the 2011 Cardinals, 2018 Dodgers, 2019 Nationals, 2020 Dodgers, 2021 Braves, and now what will happen with the Arizona Diamondbacks? Pretty interesting stat, huh, Jordan?
It really is. I mean, the Brewers, they've had their, playoff falters in, the playoffs, and everyone forgets that they were, they played the Yankees in 81 or in the 80s. But if you look at it, I mean, Arizona, they're a great team. They're playing in one of the toughest divisions, the National League West Division with the Dodgers. So the fact of the matter is they beat the Brewers. Look at what they're doing against the Dodgers. It just seems like whoever plays the Brewers is ready and primed to say, okay, we're going to make a long playoff run. Most of the cases that doesn't happen. It's just that is a very interesting stat, and I didn't realize that anytime that a team had beaten the Brewers, they went to the World Series. Maybe it will happen with Arizona because they're well on their way up 2-0.
I'm about ready to get to that in a little bit, but yeah. Well, listen, one thing about baseball, we're always full of numbers, and when you come up with something like this, you have no choice but to put it out there and make people think, right, Jordan? And the purpose of these shows to get people thinking. I've always had that philosophy: educate, entertain, and inform. And when you come up with these kind of nuggets like that, obviously, you being a nugget guy from the Denver Nugget, pun intended. Okay, just kidding. Maybe not. Take it for whatever it's worth. But yeah, I mean, it does certainly make you wonder. What do you think, George? It's a pretty interesting number.
Oh gosh, yes, it sure is. I never realized that. I mean, it's an incredible statistic, really. And I mean, we'll talk about it in a little bit about Arizona, but my God, it could happen again this year too. So it's really interesting, and it goes to show you that even though Milwaukee is now themselves getting into many World Series, and hardly any at all, but they're still playing tough baseball. They're still playing the toughest teams, even though they're coming up short. They're still they can be proud about what they've done in that city for a long time now. They've really turned baseball around, and I know that again, it's a great baseball town. It's close to Chicago as far as the fans being able to go and seeing their team on the road or vice versa. I like Milwaukee. It's got a nice stadium, and I really think that their history is a good one. I was really disappointed they got knocked out this year. I thought they might have a little bit of leg room in that first round, but all the more power to them. And this is quite a different stat that I've ever heard of before.
That's why we're talking about it.
Yep.
Well, you think about it, the Arizona Diamondbacks are 4-0 in the playoffs. I'll get to them in a moment. All right, let's talk about a final score that I already have. The Houston Astros 9, Minnesota Twins 1. The game being played up at, I believe, Target Field. That's what Christian Javier, the winning pitcher, goes 5 innings. He gave up no runs. He's your winner, obviously, for the Astros. And Minnesota sunnygray was the losing pitcher in that game. Jordan, why don't you size up the Astros and the Twins?
Well, you look at this series, I really thought that, the Twins going back at home, tied at 1 would actually take this game. But you look at the pitching. The pitching was the difference in this game. You just talked about Sunnygray, who lasted only 4 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned. That's not going to get the job done. The fact of the matter is the Houston Astros are just a beast with Jose Altuve, Alex Bergman, Diaz. I mean, I could go on and on, but the thing is the Astros, you have to realize that, if they win tomorrow, the series is over. But for Minnesota, you have to think that tomorrow's another day. You're only down one game. You win tomorrow, series is tied, and who knows what happens in a fifth game.
Good point. George?
Yeah, I thought this would be a little bit closer. I agree that, the Twins obviously were hoping for the best going into the Hayes game, obviously. But, I mean, that's a shellacking. That is a real bad performance, especially coming home. But then again, I mean, they weren't that far apart in wins and losses, okay? I think the Astros were like 3 games better or something than the Twins. It was pretty close. But the fact of the matter is don't forget Houston has all that experience, the World Series and all those veterans that they got there. Justin Verlander had a hell of a game, the first game he pitched in this series. And I really think that Houston is obviously on a bit of a roll. But that being said, Minnesota has nothing to be ashamed of. They got out of the first round and they already won one in this round. But you're right. I mean, they could come back and tie it. And then you got the winner. You got the best of 5. You got the last game, the 5th game, to decide everything. So that's what the Minnesota fans going to sleep tonight can dream about, is coming up with a victory in the next matchup.
Well, don't forget Dusty Baker. Got the monkey off his back, gorilla off his back,
Yep.
Has a championship. Wouldn't mind another one. Of course, like you say, Justin Verlander's in the fold. All right, let's talk about a current game going on in the bottom of the 6th inning. The Texas Rangers 7, Baltimore Orioles 1. Another shellacking in the process. Of course, this shellacking goes through, then the Texas Rangers are going to move on with a 3-0 sweep. Okay, I can tell you right now, when I saw that the Baltimore Orioles had lost their closer, they were done, period. And obviously, we're seeing the end results and what is taking place over in Arlington right now. Is it Globe Field Park or Globe? I don't know what the name of the stadium. I know it's Globe Park.
Yeah, Globe Life Field.
Globe Life Field. Okay, so there you go. So, Jordan, Texas Rangers awfully good.
They are, and honestly, before the series started, I thought that the Rangers would have the upper hand on the Orioles. I mean, the Orioles are good, don't get me wrong. They exceeded expectations this year by actually winning the division and getting, being one of the better teams in all of baseball. But the thing is the Texas Rangers, they have one of the best managers in Bruce Bochy. I'm not really surprised that the Rangers are doing what they're doing because, Bruce Bochy knows how to manage. As for the Orioles, you're definitely right, Scott, that the closer went out, the series was pretty much over. The fact of the matter is the Rangers have been here before, not with Bruce Bochy, but it's been a while since they've been to the American League Championship Series. Now, if they can keep the momentum going, they can go to the World Series, and who knows what will happen after that. But you still have one of the better managers in baseball in Bruce Bochy, and he's going to have those guys ready to go for the American League Championship Series.
No question about it, Jordan. Let me add to that point, too, okay? Rangers get through the series, there's a chance that Max Scherzer could end up on that roster. So if you add Max Scherzer, and they nearly put him on the roster this time, gave him a little more time, but now all of a sudden, Bruce Bochy, we all know how good he is. You already just mentioned it yourself, right? But if Max Scherzer is on this roster as you go deeper into the playoffs, if you think the Rangers are dangerous now, it could get a whole lot more interesting. For sure. All right, I'll turn over to George.
Well, it's not just missing the closer. I mean, come on, where are the bats? I mean, Baltimore's not scoring the runs that they should be scoring. 101 victories, and they sure don't look like a 101 victory team to me. But we were on this show last week, and remember we talked about this, that Baltimore did not have the experience. We all agreed that Texas had the experience, even though Baltimore did have a better win-loss total. But the thing that really surprises me is that division. Now, they both were in tough races. Both divisions were very close, very tough. But if you come out of that East division, you should have a lot of momentum going for you. And Baltimore, with 101 victories, I thought would do a better job, only because they had a tougher opponent. They had, tough teams. They had to get by Toronto, get, Tampa in that division. And of course, the Yankees and Red Sox didn't even make it. But it's always recognized as the best division in baseball. That's the only thing that I thought would be helpful as far as the experience and the competitiveness of the Orioles. But again, a great year. They've had a great year. You hate to go out this way, but it certainly doesn't look good for them guys losing, like you said, tonight. And then of course, that'll be the end of the series.
Well, the amazing part about it is, if you think about it, the Texas Rangers swept out the Tampa Bay Rays, 2-0, and now they may end up sweeping the Orioles. So you have 5-0.
Yep.
Sweeps at the expense of the American League East.
Yeah.
I don't know who would have thought that. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about is the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. Before I do that, I want to get another updated score. Top of the seventh, Rangers still lead the Orioles 7-1. It's just a matter of a couple innings before this thing's all said and done. So if we have another update before we go off air, we will provide it. So with that said, Dodgers are at the Diamondbacks tomorrow, and the Diamondbacks lead 2-0. Arizona wins both their games at Dodger Stadium. Now they have a chance to go ahead and finish the job over at Chase Field. All right, Jordan. It goes back to what we initially started the shows about that stat. Will the Diamondbacks be the latest on that World Series list? First of all, Jordan, two-part thing here. Number one, I want you to size up the Diamondbacks Dodger series as it end tomorrow.
I don't think it'll end tomorrow, because I think the Dodgers, they're too great of a veteran team to go down, in a sweep. I think they win tomorrow and actually force a game 4, but I don't see them doing much. If you look at game 1, it was all about, the pitching. Clayton Kershaw, one of the best pitchers, he went out there and only lasted a third of an inning and gave up 6 hits and 6 runs. Game 2 was closer, 4-2, but I just think that the Dodgers know their backs are against the wall. They've done this before, so this is nothing new for them, but they know if they don't win tomorrow, obviously the season's over. But the fact of the matter is I think with their backs against the wall, they will actually get the job done, just win one of these games, but then they'll lose game 4, because that's just the Dodgers are just a veteran team. They're not going to get swept.
All right, so with that said, I'm going to give you a follow-up, okay, Jordan? Let's just say the Dodgers go down in this series. How does that bode for Dave Roberts?
It doesn't bode well, because this was a team that won a lot of games this season, ran away with the National League West Division. And Dave Roberts, he can get this team to the playoffs, but you want to win World Series. It's just disappointing that he hasn't done so. He has won one with them, but I just don't know how patient the Dodgers front office is going to be if you keep losing, at least before the championship series, or even before the World Series. It just doesn't bode well for Dave Roberts.
Yeah, but the only thing as we do the show, even after the season's over with, is, all right, Dave Roberts, just say hypothetically survives this year and they get Shoheiohtani. Oh my goodness. You imagine what's going to happen there.
Well, then he actually has a great player that he can DH for, because he's not going to pitch, but that's just going to help the Dodgers even more.
Right. And if you think his seat is hot this year, with Shoheiohtani, then in my opinion, that seat's going to be 755 degrees, Georgia. Mm-hmm. We know what that analogy is. All right, George, you heard what I asked Jordan. Does it end tomorrow in Phoenix?
No, I think LA will come up with one win, though. They got to win tomorrow to bring up a game 4. I got to hand it to our buddy Mancini. He's always telling us how the Dodgers are overrated. They're overrated. They're a bunch of losers. Well, and they're not losers, but they are certainly on the cusp of losing this. And it would be another El Foldo job by the Dodgers. Let's face it, guys. They keep winning these season series. They keep winning in the regular season. 100 wins and 62 losses, and they're losing to a team that was 84-78. Again, it just goes to show you can't take any team for granted. It happened to my Detroit Tigers. They got beat by Bochy. I saw that. I witnessed that. And San Francisco came in like a steamroller and won that World Series. But I'm telling you, I certainly agree. We've got some good managers out there, but I'm not sure about Roberts staying around. I really don't think he will. If they get eliminated, I have a feeling they're going to make some changes. And yes, that would be a great addition if they got Ohtani. But there's still there's still, again, the prospect is, how do you get to win in the playoffs if you're the Dodgers? You've done it once, and that was with an asterisk because that was a COVID year. So we know that is almost, the one that they did win. All that being said, I mean, they're still a great team. I mean, they got great pieces, but yeah, I was shocked too about Kershaw. I mean, that was unbelievable, getting knocked out so early in the game in the first inning. Oh my God.
Well, I'll throw a hypothetical out there, and it's only nothing more than just a hypothetical. Well, let's just say that Roberts does get the boot. The one name that will probably surface probably more than any. You guys want to take a guess?
Mattingly? No.
No. Well, he was there.
I was almost going to say Girardi, but I'm not even sure that's a correct answer.
Okay. Not the one. How about mikescioscia?
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Spent a lot of time right across the highway.
That's why I brought him up.
Yeah.
Mikescioscia's name. Plus, he did win the World Championship with the Angels, the only one that they won. Give him a lot of capital with some good management. You never know. Mike could be wearing Dodger, but just throwing it out there. But,
yep. Good.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a really weird feeling that the Diamondbacks are going to wipe out the Dodgers 3-0. I don't know why. Now, I want to make one other point, too, being in the Miami area like I am. The Marlins' 2 World Championships occurred when they were the wild card team, and they've never won a division title in their history. They've only been to the playoffs 4 times and have never won a division title, and won both of them as a wild card team.
Wow. Yeah.
So what am I telling you? Wild card teams get hot at the right time, and you never know what can happen. So,
absolutely.
So we'll monitor this mikescioscia situation if there is anything to monitor. But that would be the one person out there. Our buddy Rick Curdy certainly would love to see mikescioscia there because he's a lifelong Dodger. And you're right, George. Mark Mancini's the biggest Dodger hater. And the more they lose, the more we got to watch this guy go ballistic. Can you admit to Mark Mancini? I have to tell you that he's right. Oh my gosh! Really? But you know what? Mark's a good guy. He's a great colleague. He's a lot of fun to work with. But he's going to get louder if the Dodgers lose.
Oh yeah,
he's in life or obvious. Yeah. That's one of them. So
for sure.
So, all right, Jordan, any closing thoughts that you want to mention before we call it a night?
Well, I know there's been a lot of talk about Craig Counsell maybe leaving Milwaukee, but the reason why I think he should stay is you look at how many years he's managed the Brewers, 9 years, and they've made the playoffs 5 times, and his record is 707 and 625. The only job that he would take is the Mets. I think he stays in Milwaukee, though, even though that he has connections to the Mets organization.
Well, so let me ask you another hypothetical, okay? Could you imagine if Joe Maddon ever got the Mets job?
That would be I honestly think that makes a lot of sense just because Maddon's been in LA. I mean, he didn't do that well. He's also been in Chicago. Won a World Series. He's also been in Tampa, and he gave them a World Series, at least went to the World Series. I could see Joe Maddon in New York. He knows how to change the course of an organization.
If you can break that curse in Chicago with the Cubs, you should get a phone call at least. George, any closing thoughts?
Well, here in Detroit, of course, Scott Harris and A.J. Hinch had their closing press conferences. They met with the beat writers, and I was encouraged because, the people that want to just go out and spend money, we've seen that not work, right, guys? We've seen that not work this season, especially the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres. So I think Scott Harris and Hinch were honest with the media insofar as Detroit's situation goes. It's not that Chris Ilitch won't pay for, but he will pay only when they are needed and when it's a position that has to be backfilled or can really help the team out of the gate. By that, I mean, if they don't have a second baseman coming up in the minors, then obviously you would go to the ownership, meaning Ilitch, and you'd ask, hey, can I look around? Can we find somebody? But the Tigers got burned on that Baez deal.
Oh, didn't they?
For coming over from the Cubs. I mean, this guy, I don't know what's bothering him. I don't know what the heck's going on. And then that one combined with our fellow from Tampa Bay who has the mental issues haven't helped him. I know he needs a lot of help, Meadows, but Detroit really took a slacking on those two moves, and they didn't expect to. And then you got all these pitchers that have been hurt. The Tigers, every pitcher has had some sort of arm fatigue, Tommy John surgery, or something else going on. And now Riley Green, is getting hurt a lot, making these diving catches in the outfield. Again, he's a great ball player, a lot of potential. I'm not trying to make excuses, but the Tigers showed a lot of improvement this year. And I know we talked about it before, Scott, on one of our shows, that in this division, they certainly are going to be one of the contenders next year. I mean, Minnesota didn't win by a whole lot, but the Tigers. That my final thoughts were just that they're making steady progress, but they're not going to go hog wild in free agency, and that's good. I'm glad they're not, because they got a lot of good stuff in the pipeline.
Yeah, the thing that people have to understand is Scott Harris inherited Javi Baez and Austin Meadows. And, obviously Casey Mize, I guess, is figuring to come back. But even though they had a tough year with all these injury issues, this team still managed to win 78 games and was able to establish some other players that could be core. But, it's Chris Ilitch is one of those kinds of guys that will spend his money wisely. Where Mike Ilitch was looking to, if he could, he could afford to bring in superstars, and he did, and he got him to the World Series, but they didn't finish the job. So,
right.
So I can understand. Good points by both of y'all. It really is. And of course, when we do this again next week, obviously we're going to be talking about the playoffs and continuing coverage, and whatever analysts are available, fine. Otherwise, we'll keep doing it on our own, because it's a lot of fun. Well, we can try to break things down and see this whole postseason progressively do what we need to do. So, any final thoughts, Jordan? Want to let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
You can follow me on Twitter at SportsScoop1. I have a blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays at sports-scoop.com. I also have a show called Under Review, which is my take on Colorado sports with a mixture of national sports headlines as well, and that's usually on Fridays, but I will tweet that out when it goes live.
Very good. Okay, well, look forward to I wish you continued success with that, and we appreciate you being a very valuable member of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. You're doing a really good job with this opportunity, and of course your baseball knowledge. I read your writing, and I think it's nothing short of outstanding. All right, George, what do you have?
Yeah, I still got my book out there, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. There's a link to purchase the book at the end of my column. I write under the Motor City Tribune, under Scott's South Florida Tribune website, and drill down to Motor City. And I will also be available like on Yahoo. You can do gicorn@yahoo.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter, or known as X now, SandGSports99. And also, I'm proud to be on this show and many other ones, Sports Exchange and Pundit's Pundit and Inside the Pigskin. We have a great time here on 108 Stitches. And let's not forget, it is a great time of year if you're a baseball fan, because even though some of these scores are a little lopsided at times, playoff baseball, there's nothing like it. The tension, the great plays that we see, and all of this to be culminating with the World Series, of course, in a couple of weeks.
All right, one more update here on the Rangers score. Texas still leads Baltimore 7-1, 2 outs, bottom of the seventh. Texas has a man on first, so there you have it. So that's the latest updates we have up to the moment here. All right, just one more time with us, just so you know, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter/X. You can find us at Tribune South. Candy Abley's behind the scene. And I also want to mention one more time is my book, It's a media book called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. We're looking for a early launch to begin around the first week of November. And I'm looking forward to a big Christmas push as well. But really, basically, it centers around old school media versus new school media, and the fact that you can learn from everybody, whether you've met them indirectly or not. And I'll get that information out there as well. So well done, Jordan, as usual, and George. And we look forward to providing you more program tomorrow night. We're going to go out there and have Jennifer Cobb and I and Mel Farr Jr. will be on No Limits talking about Parkinson's disease. And immediately after that, at the 9 o'clock hour, we'll have the Sports Exchange. And then on Thursday night, we're going to end up having Pundit's Pundit and a fire-up show of some kind. I'll make the call there as well. So I know Candy Ebling and Jeremy Ballrick will be on it. I don't know whether by the time Thursday night rolls around, whether I'll have a few new wrinkles to it. So with that said, on behalf of Jordan Long and George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morgan, Route the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. And we will see, well, not Inside the Pigskin, we'll have that too. 108 Sixers Baseball Talk. We'll see you next Tuesday night. Have a great week, everybody.